Caution, the Mark Gungor Show contains adult content intended for an adult audience. And, besides that, he's really weird. Welcome to the Mark Gungor Show with international marriage speaker and author of Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage, Mark Gungor. This is your source for practical, down-to-earth marriage advice without all the over-spiritualization or romantic nonsense. And now the host of the Mark Gungor Show, Mark Gungor.
Crowd goes wild with delirious joy. They've joined the Mark Gungor Show, the show that deals with all things concerning knowledge. Indeed, I'm your host, the one, the only, Mark Gungor. Joining me as always, the very lovely and charming leopard chick.
And tightly wound today. Warning, the danger
Diane
zone
Brierly.
is high.
And of course, the amazing Philip James Gungor. Engineering the show as always. The very talented but eerily creepy Timothy Robert Ray, pushing buttons, twisting knobs, and trying to stay awake during this incomprehensibly, immeasurably boring show. This is the show that handles your marital challenges, relational conundrums, and dating dilemmas that you can email to us at ask@markgungor.com. What do you got there for us today, Sunshine?
A little article on how to get past a nasty fight.
Nasty girls.
5 steps to get past a nasty fight.
How to get past a nasty fight.
I don't know if you'll
Nasty
agree with
boys,
these, but we'll see.
Don't misquote
Oh, it's nasty boys, not nasty girls.
Miss Jackson.
Jen Jackson.
Nasty boys.
It's Miss Jackson if you're nasty.
That's right. And he doesn't even get that reference.
That's all right.
I promise you. Okay, the first thing...
Considering the context, I went with nasty girls. But go ahead.
The first... I don't even know what you're talking about. The first step to getting past a nasty fight...
Yes, dear.
Reject the urge to get even. God sees and hears everything. He will punish and he will reward. So don't try to take it into your own hands and get even.
Do people think that way? Get even? Like revenge?
Get back at them? I don't know. If someone says something nasty, the urge to get even and
Oh, I suppose.
say something nasty back?
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay.
All right.
The second step, stop right where you are and pray. This is what I do all the time.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute.
They say it's almost impossible to stay angry at someone when you're praying for them. Make that your first priority. I am a sinful, shameful woman because that is not my first priority.
Now, see, this is not helpful. I know these people are very spiritual.
I know.
But who are they talking to?
Not me.
Who, when they get angry, okay, let us pray.
But is that what you're
Father, we thank you.
supposed to do?
Well, not only that, but the prayers are often very insulting. Lord, like that one guy wrote us.
Yeah.
Whenever they get in an argument, he would get the children to pray for mom.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, show my wife what an evil witch she is being and how she's wrong and correct her. I mean, come on. Stop and pray.
Well, in the heat of it, maybe you can't do that, but after the dust is settled,
Well, now, then you pray.
then
Oh,
that
Lord,
helps you
forgive
get past
me.
it.
Forgive me, oh, Lord, for my wickedness and wanting to
Yes.
kill somebody.
Yes.
But
okay,
no,
so maybe
I
it's
just
getting
don't think that's-
over the fight once the fight is over, but in the middle of
Reject
it.
the urge to get even. Oh, I don't know. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the third one, stop keeping score. It doesn't really matter who apologized last time, who apologizes most of the time. Just because someone else isn't courageous doesn't mean you have to be weak.
Yeah. Okay. Now, here's the problem again. I don't know that so much necessarily keeping score as if you're with someone who never apologizes. It's hard to overlook that. It's not a matter of keeping scores. Like, how come you can never say you're sorry? You know, that can get a little irritating.
Yes.
All right.
Number 4, accept the fact that no one is perfect.
Wait. That can't possibly be true. Because I looked at somebody in the mirror this morning.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
He
you
was
looked
amazing.
at somebody. Like, that would be me. Yeah, you might feel like you're better than someone else, but the fact is we're all sinners and saved by grace.
Diane.
Okay, don't mirror the bad behavior of others. Don't be nasty because someone else is a jerk. That only brings you
nasty
down to their
boys.
level.
Don't
Look for
mirror the bad
Christ
behavior of others.
to be your
Okay.
example and follow his lead. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, number 6, before you try to be understood, make an effort to understand.
Now that's good. That one I think you can do.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes you don't understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
And a little bit more, what are you trying to say?
Yes.
Something I try to encourage people lately is to listen to what someone's saying, not to literally what they're saying. Listen to what they're trying to say.
know.
Okay? Women, quite frankly, are famous for this. Because a guy who's not most guys are not exactly verbally skillful. And they stumble along.
Yeah.
And they'll say something. Well, you said so. Well, that's not what I don't care. That's what you said. And then she goes all crazy because he literally said something, but he's saying that's not what I was trying to say, but they don't care.
Well,
boom, you're guilty.
Might I just interrupt you here?
No, you may not.
Because then, as soon as a woman extrapolates something and tries to think that is what he meant, guess what? That's not what he meant.
But listen to him. You can say, I'm extrapolating. Here's what I'm hearing you say. And if he goes, no, that's not what I'm saying.
Yes.
Well, then reset. The problem is someone, I don't know, like who wears leopard prints would say, this is what I think you're saying. And then he says, no, it is what I'm saying. And then you're in trouble.
So in other words, you can take what someone says for what they really said, thinking that they're meaning what they're saying, and you're in trouble. Or you can try to guess what they're saying.
Here's the thing. Just
and still be in trouble.
Ask. Is what you're saying to me is such and such. No. Well, that's what I heard. And then they'll get an argument about what you said. Or just, let that go. Well, what he's saying. But oftentimes we get too caught up and,
in the words, not the meaning.
Yeah. All right.
I got it. On the last one, exercise patience.
Exercise patience,
humility and grace.
I'm the most humble person I know. I'm so humble that I'm humble.
Like any other exercise, it isn't easy. It requires effort, but it always improves your spiritual health.
All right,
exercise, patience,
Am I dinging?
humility,
I'm dinging.
and
Right.
grace.
Everything's going wrong here. Stop. All right.
You have too many
Too
electronics.
many electronics going off. My phone went off. But anyway. All right. We will come back after this very strange opening and answer your emails right after this.
Download your free Mark Gungor app today to see all of the latest from the world of Mark Gungor.
When all the time I didn't know, but it was love running after me.
We are back on the Mark Gungor Show, talking about love, marriage, and relationships. Mark, Phil, Diane, answering your emails.
You know
What do you got there?
She says, my husband and I have been married for 7.5 years. We have 2 daughters. When we got married, the first year was hard.
Why is it on the camera? There you go. Okay.
Now we're having all sorts of other issues.
Okay, there you go.
I'm sorry, when we got married,
Yes.
the first year was hard and we struggled a lot, almost ended in divorce. But we started going to a marriage class at our church. And
First year.
Yeah.
You know, do you hear that a fair amount? People on their first year of marriage really struggle. Some
We
people.
hear that. I don't know how common that is.
I don't
but
understand
we
that.
Tend to
I mean,
hear
wouldn't you
that.
think the least amount of problem you're going to have would be in your first year of marriage? I would think.
I don't know. Sometimes people getting
Was
used
that a major
to it.
thing in your life? No?
No,
Were
not
you-
the first year.
Phil, did you have major?
Not about major. I guess you deal with a lot of things for the first time.
adjustments. Yeah.
Really?
It just depends.
'Cause you
Depends on the
haven't lived
situation.
together,
I don't know, man.
hopefully before.
You're finally together. You can get naked. It's like, what's wrong with this?
Yeah, but sorry, a lot
This
of
is
people
like,
have had sex
whee!
before they were married, and that's not the whole. I mean, they've been doing this for a while, so they
I
don't
can
have
see
all
that,
of the
I
thrill
guess.
of.
But
Yeah.
there are people know that literally they waited and then
Yeah.
they just for some reason it's such a massive.
It's very different for them.
And I'm thinking,
anyway,
why would this be so hard the first? You think you should be so overwhelmed with wow, woo, that it would be.
well, that's what I'm saying. They've been having wow woohoo for.
I'm
quite
saying. There
some
are
time.
those who have not wowed and woohooed earlier. And they still struggle. I don't
Okay.
understand it.
I don't know.
I don't know
either.
All right.
Anyhow,
So here's this lady.
they-
We don't know her wow woohoo history.
Yes.
Just that they're married for the first year and they're having a
Yeah,
hard time.
so they started going to the marriage class at their church, and
Okay.
it was your Left Your Way to a Better Marriage
well, that is
class.
a brilliant church.
Yes. And she said it changed them a lot and it changed their marriage. So they were doing much better after that. Okay. But she says, lately I've been feeling like something is missing in our married life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love my life and my husband is a great guy. I've just been feeling not so loving about him. Like I like him because he's my husband, the father of my daughters, but not that.
Signed Debbie Gungor.
love the way it used to be, that it's kind of fading on me, she says. I'm even losing my feeling for sex, sometimes feeling like I have to make love because he's my husband and he's a guy and he needs to. Even when we make love, sometimes I even don't feel good and my mind is thinking about lots of things that have nothing to do with my husband at that moment. She said there's not another guy.
That's nasty.
She's
not telling that to her husband, is she?
I didn't ask that.
Okay.
She's just, I don't think so. She's just, thinking about the laundry and the grocery list and all of that, apparently.
Well, don't share that with him.
She said, please, I need your help. I'm a young lady, 30 years old, and need and want to have a better marriage and a sex life, too. I want to be an example to my 2 daughters one day when they get married. She's lost that love and feeling.
She's lost that love and feel. I think she's thinking too hard. That's what I think. What do you think?
Sometimes you don't feel like it.
How old are the kids?
2 and 7, I think.
They just got married. The kid's 7?
2 and 7 have been married for 7.5 years.
What was the 1 year thing? Oh, she's just looking back.
The first year was tough.
The first year was hard.
Oh.
Yes, the first year was hard.
I don't
That
know.
woohoo goes away.
Yeah.
First of all.
Yes. Unless you're married to me. No, it does. Life goes on. Sometimes life is hard. Everything's not this constant state of incredible bliss. I think when people start, they don't have that. They think something's wrong. I don't know that anything's wrong. It sounds like they're kind of normal to me.
You don't like the part about that she thinks about other things when she's having sex with her
Well, you
husband?
can't help it. I wouldn't say that.
No, I don't think that she does. I didn't get that impression.
I wouldn't right in the middle of sex saying, hey, did you put that one shirt in the laundry we were talking about? I wouldn't do that.
Your mind wanders sometimes.
Look, everything you think you shouldn't necessarily share with somebody. Okay? I mean, if men are visually driven, if some really pretty girl walks by, I would suggest most men not say, holy cow, look at that lady's butt. Now, he might have thought it. Okay, well, straighten out your head and quit thinking about it, but you don't need to share it. If a woman's thinking, gee, I'd rather really be doing something else right now.
Don't tell them.
Don't sell. But I wouldn't get all freaked out about it and say, I think the world's coming to an end and my marriage, maybe we're not in love anymore. I don't know, just life is life.
She says she wants to be an example to her daughters, that you keep doing the right thing and you stick to your marriage. And even if you don't feel like it, that's the good example to set for your daughters.
Yeah, how can what you're feeling be an example? See, again, that's why I think she's thinking too hard. She's thinking too hard. Her feelings are everything. And this defines who I am. And no, it doesn't.
Yeah. There were a lot of the word feelings was used a lot.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
I think that's why the first year is tough for most people.
Because?
And especially, too, if they haven't lived together, whatever, because they think that the first year they're supposed to feel a certain way. And so if their feelings aren't in the right way, they're trying to, instead of trying to do the right things, they're trying to get their feelings to feel the right way, which I think could be very frustrating.
Man, I've sat in church and thought, I hate this. I've been preaching a sermon and thought, I hate this guy preaching. There's all kinds of stuff that you think. Who cares? Here is the problem. This is a major problem in people's lives today. In our secular culture and particularly in our Christian culture, is they think their feelings define them. What you feel, you are. If you feel this, you are that. You feel that, you are. And people jump all over the place doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And Christians feel, my feelings are this, that, and the other, and it defines who I am. No, it doesn't. I was talking to a girl on Sunday, Pastor, sometimes I feel really bad things, and what should I do about it? I said, nothing. Ignore them. Your feelings don't define you. If every time I felt something bad, I went and did it, I'd be a disaster. But I don't live by my feelings. My feelings, at times, I don't feel like doing this show. I can't imagine that being today.
Not today.
Not today. I can't imagine she think I'd rather be boating today. Can't imagine. But, who cares? It doesn't matter what you feel. But there's people who are absolutely obsessed by how they feel. And she feels this and she feels that. Man, listen, there are... I don't know how much I should share. But there's times during sex or anything else that a guy might think all kinds of crazy things. And you just stop. You don't share that. You don't think, oh my gosh, I'm this, that, or the other. I don't know. I just think she's thinking too hard. She's letting her feelings define who she is. And because she thinks it defines who she is, she gets all upset about it.
Sometimes you just ignore what you think.
You ignore what you think.
You just ignore it.
Yes, and you ignore what you feel.
So what? It's there?
Exactly.
You just ignore it.
Exactly right. I feel like doing laundry while I'm having sex. Okay. How about you just focus more on your husband and try not to stop thinking about the laundry? Or here's an idea, do the laundry first next time.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? I bet you if you took a bunch of people, and like even this lady, and you said, tell me, what do you think it takes to be successful at school? What do you think it takes to be successful at work? You know, what do you think you need to do to get into better physical shape? And these people will probably say all of the right things. Whether or not they do them is another thing. But it's interesting when you come to marriage, and I bet you if you were to ask people, how do you have a good marriage? I think most people believe in the wrong things. Like, you know what I'm saying? See, you know, with even if you're out of shape, well, I know if I ate better and I,
First of all, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're talking about being out of shape. Because I can't begin to relate to that.
Round is a shape. I keep telling you that. Round is a shape.
Oblong is a shape.
But
I'm definitely in shape.
If you put
I'm
that,
listening to your
but
son.
if you put that
Ignore him.
into marriage,
Yes.
and I think you had him stand up. So what does it mean to be a successful marriage? I wouldn't be surprised if you get a lot of things like, well, you got to be honest with how you feel, and you
Yeah.
got to do this and that. And
It's all
which is so weird
bogus.
because so much of that stuff translates into marriage, and it's like they can follow these things all up until marriage, and then when it hits marriage, we jump into all these ideas
Yeah.
that.
I think a lot of people tend to be idealistic. My guess is she's too idealistic.
That's
I
true.
don't know who goes around comparing what they have with what they think it should be. I don't do that. Today is
you
today.
don't think when people come to marriage that they don't think it should be this and it should be
I'm
that?
saying I never did. I
no,
think
there's a ton of people
I
who do
know
that.
they're idealistic. They're too romanticized in their head, or they might be idealistic by nature in every area of their life. I don't do life and then think I don't compare my life with what I thought is ideally supposed to be. Well, what a horrible way to live. Here's my job, but what's my job really supposed to be? Well, that'll be depressing.
Well, I don't think people do it with their jobs necessarily. I think they do it in spades with their marriages.
I'm saying they tend to do it with everything, and that's why people are so at unrest, because they're constantly comparing with their reality with what it's supposed to be. And my marriage, and she's saying, "This is my marriage. This is some of the stuff I do." I'd say, "Okay, that's what you do. So what?" But that's not what it's supposed to do. People who live like this, I think, live very frustrated. They need to just relax. Quit comparing your reality with what you think it's supposed to be. Just do life and do it to the best of your ability, and don't get caught up in about everything you feel and sense. And, my wife should be such and such. I don't think in those terms. My wife ideally should be something. She is who she is. I never, man, if you do that, man, no wonder so many people are so depressed.
I think that's a very common way that people think. A ton of them.
Well, I think right now that the show should take a break. So I'm going to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.
What do you feel?
Have a marriage dilemma? Email your questions to ask@markgungor.com, and Mark can answer them during one of our shows.
What will it be? Judgment or mercy? Why don't you let it be?
Why don't you let it be? Back on the Mark Gungor Show, talking about love, marriage, and relationships, specifically, and now answering some questions about money. Money, money, money. What do you got?
He says, my wife spends too much. We're on limited income. My wife was laid off earlier this year and managed to pick up a job that pays about $600 less a month than her previous job.
Okay.
But her spending habits are still at the pre-layoff level, if not more. He says, I'm the minister of finance in our household. I do the budget, so I see all of the stuff she spends our money on. He says, wastes our money on. Multiple coffees a day, energy and soft drinks, thrift shops to buy other people's donated goods that we end up redonating. I've asked multiple times for her to be more prudent on spending, but without effect. I'm at the stage of taking her access to her debit and credit cards away and giving her an allowance in cash for the month. How else can I get the overspending issue under control before we've got no cash for the basics?
I don't know. I mean, people's biggest problem isn't so much the money they make, it's what they spend. People tend to overspend. And it seems to never end for some people. Even when they make more money, they just keep spending like crazy, and they're always in a hole. People who make $40,000 a year think, man, if I just made $80,000 a year, life would be great. Then they're making $80,000, and they're in a big hole. That's what they were back in their 40. They think, well, man, if I just made $120,000, man. A lot of people right now think, man, if I made $100,000 a year, my life would be great. The reality is, if they start making $100,000 a year, they wouldn't be great. You know what's interesting is studies show that people, the more money they make, the less percentage of money they give in churches. The most generous people actually make like between 50 and 80 $75,000, $80,000 are the most generous people. When they start making more money, they start getting tighter and tighter and tighter because they overspend. Everybody starts overspending and starts getting out of control. I think you need to sit down with your wife and just show her the numbers. Rather than get into this, you don't do this right and you don't do that and you're not sensitive about and just criticizing who she is, sit down with the numbers and say, let's take a look financially where we're at. And she needs to get a sense. And here's something else I would try to do. Right now, her sense of joy comes from spending. A lot of people are like that. Fun people. I tend to be a fun person. They're fun. But you need to start changing the emotional connection to not what we spent, but what we've kept. And have a goal and say, listen, at the end of this week, at the end of this month, whatever, we want to be able to say we have an extra such and such dollars. Let's move toward that. Let's see if we can get there. And celebrate that. And when we get there, wow, we got the extra $50, or we got the extra $100. And if you can start changing the emotional connection to what we keep rather than what we spend, that's a major change. And it takes a while to get there.
I was going to say, good luck with that.
No, I think because people's connection is, if you start really changing your emotional buzz to what we have at the end of the week, or end of the paycheck, or whatever it is, to what I spent along the way, that's a major change in people's thinking. And now they actually start having more fun, not spending money. Easier said than done, but I think you need to sit down with her and just do the numbers. Rather than accusing, you spent too much money. Why'd you get that extra cup of coffee? To a person, things are tight and you're yelling at me for a cup of coffee. I think, man, how can you be so cheap? They're not, but you sit down and say, look, here's what you spent. Here's where we're at. Yeah. And it just wouldn't make it all about her, but here's where we are. And now when you subtract this from this, we're now minus 10. Yeah. We've got to work on that. So I think you just need to sit down and wrestle it out.
Well, and what he's spending money on that he doesn't think is wasteful, she might look at it and go, well, my coffee isn't any more wasteful than what you spent $10 on this week. You know what I mean? So you have to look at those things. Well,
that's why I sit down and put it in black and white. A lot of people don't like talking about money. They would rather touch. I'm not going to be honest with you, I don't like talking about money. But you got to do it. Mm-hmm. You got to sit down and discuss and say, here's where we're at. Here's how much we take in. This is how much that we don't have left. That is what we spent, and it puts us in this situation. How can we fix this? How can we improve? Ask her advice. Again, just don't always accuse your spouse. What do you think we can do to get in a better place? Okay? Now someone said, well, you need to make more money. Well, we can work on that. But right now, what we need to do is make sure that we spend less than what we bring in. We'll be back with more right after this break.
Caution, the Mark Gungor Show contains adult content intended for an adult audience.
We're back on the Mark Gungor Show talking about love, marriage, and relationships. Just answering the question about money. It's really a very typical question. Is my spouse, in this case it's the wife, but it's not always the wife.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes the husband spends more money.
But you have this problem that we are spending too much. And most people's problem isn't that they don't make enough money, is that they just spend too much money. And how do you get there without putting everybody on the defense? Because sometimes you'll go right at it and you'll pick on, in his email he mentioned, that extra cup of coffee. Well, if you stop and think, there's no way our financial problems could be because I had one cup of coffee. That's the problem when you identify just one thing. So it's not the one cup of coffee. It's that one cup of coffee was $5, and you did that 5 times, and now that starts adding up.
But the key, I think, is communication, which I think might be our next segment anyway. So this might be a nice segue, which isn't just a cool little two-wheel thing. But
I'd like to have a segue.
But
I know
with communication, usually too, and it's the very black and white person that tends to take care of the finances. I think they can handle it. The pressure of it a little bit more. But if you bring all of the facts and you say it how you would say it, and this is just like this, and that's just like that, and you be super black and white with them, they're not going to hear what you're saying. They're just going to be blown over, and you're going to stress them out and freak them out, and tears are going to happen, and no communication is going to work. So not only do you need to communicate, but you need to learn how do they communicate. And what's a good way to learn how to communicate?
Listen to Mark Gungor. That's the main way. One other thing about all of this. Something you might want to try is a daily analysis of where we're at. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes if you trying to figure out your problem at the end of the month and you're trying to jump in on one thing, they'll just overreact.
Or even weekly.
Yeah, but I'm saying if it's a real problem, actually daily.
Yeah.
You got to, it's like trying to discipline a 5-year-old the next day for what he did the day before.
Don't remember.
They can't even begin to relate to it. Now, if you take a child, a little tiny kid, and as soon as he, I don't know, takes a black magic marker all over his sister's face, and immediately, you can't do that. You deal with it. He starts to connect, what I just did to whatever. You try and have that conversation a week and a half later when Dad comes back because he was on a trip, and now he sits down and starts having this big talk with the 5-year-old about the magic marker in the sister's face. He's going to have a hard time relating to it. It's kind of like a dog. Your dog poos. You can't yell at him about it an hour later. He has no connection with it. It's got to be an immediate response. Now, that's not to say your spouse is a toddler or a dog. But to someone who has a spending problem, I think you need to start identifying it really much more quickly. Otherwise, it becomes about too much stuff at once. They can't handle it. So what you might want to do is literally, I don't know if that you think it's too much for people to do, is just let's have a daily just kind of analysis of where we're at for the day.
Or you can do like what Dave Ramsey does. He sort of does that same thing by operating just off of cash. You know what I'm saying? So you have an envelope or whatever it is full of cash. So you see it.
Yeah,
Actually,
that's the other thing. Yeah, that's another, because there's
Yes.
The problem is really the cards.
Yes.
The credit cards. If you have a spending problem, you really need to get rid of the cards or take them and lock them in a safe
And say, we need all of this money for the bills. Here's what you have, and when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah. And no more cards. Credit cards are probably the single greatest trap that inflates people's spending. So, yeah, I mean, that's another way, because at least that's dealing with it immediately.
Yes.
When we see. I just don't think having a discussion, a non-spender with a spender, you can't get a spender to comprehend and get what the problem is at the end of the month, because what he did this day or that day or what he did 3 weeks ago and stuff like that. There's a financial immaturity, if you will, kind of like with a small child or a dog who doesn't get the fact that you're upset about something, and it can't be because I did that one day. They have a hard time putting it all together. I think the caching is a great idea, or certainly maybe sit down on a daily basis. Where are we at today? Where's our goal? How are we doing? You said weekly or whatever. I just think if you're having spending problems, trying to deal with the spending problems at the end of the month, I think is too late. Until someone starts to mature more about their spending patterns. And they are patterns, and you can't just correct it by yelling at somebody. You got to change the way they think, and you got to do it in baby steps and do it. The quicker the feedback, the more likely they will learn. And it takes some time. Anyway, all right, what do you got there?
You should write a book on that.
I should write a book on
money?
On why Mark Gungor is always right. That's an easy.
Baby Step, wasn't that What About Bob?
What about Bob?
Oh, yeah.
Baby Steps. Baby Steps. I love that movie. What about Bob?
That's a great movie. All right, what do you got?
Okay, the next email says, my husband and I have a problem
I can't believe that.
When he is agitated and bothered by little things that the kids are doing wrong, like the TV's too loud, he becomes easily flustered, and I can tell that he is upset and something is bothering him. I ask him what's wrong. His usual answer is nothing. It's fine. But it's obvious that something is wrong, and he tells me to stop asking and leave him alone. I get frustrated trying to guess and figure out what it is. How can I get him to communicate with me about what is wrong?
Okay. Number one, my suggestion is that when someone says, it's nothing and leave me alone, I'd leave him alone. I don't know why someone feels obliged to try and figure it out. I promise you, because I can be much more like that than my wife.
The nothing? You'll answer nothing?
Well, just when I get really, rattled and I don't want to talk about it, she doesn't ask. Quite frankly, she doesn't care. I mean, she may, but she's learned not to care. It's just you can't go with it. Look, we had this couple do their flag page. Now, the flag page is a tool that we use to help couples to get a picture of who they are and give them an understanding of why they act the way that why they act. If you've never done the test, you really ought to go online, flagpage.com. It's a great way, and it's a simple test. It doesn't ask you any questions. It's the easiest test in the world because it just asks you to identify just a few things, and boom, you get this incredible printout of who you are. It only shows you what's right about you. A lot of people are afraid to take it because they're afraid it's going to show them what's wrong with them. It's not about what's wrong. It's who you are at your best. And when you start to understand who you are and why you do what you do, it starts to really help things a lot. Now, there's different parts of this test. One of it has to do with kind of your temperament, whether or not you're a fun person or a peace person or control person or perfect-natured person or whatever, and all the combinations of that. It has this flag, we call it the flag page, because that identifies the 5 things that are the most important to you. Really helps people to try and understand things. But one of the neatest things about it is what we call these soft and hard scores, okay? And what it does is soft people are the ones, the soft part of you is that warm and fuzzy part of life. The hard side of you is a part that tends to be much more black and white and to the point. We all have varying degrees of that in us, and has a lot to do with how we react to things in life. A person who tends more to be hard, it's easier for them to become more black and white. For example, here we got the lady, which we blotted out their names because we try to do these things anonymously. But you see, she's got a soft score of 37. The higher the score, the more intense they are, and a hard score of 49. It's a little bit harder than soft. Now, the difference is 12. We start making a big difference about 15 or more. But we'd call her a balancing person. She's able to go between the two, fairly simple, but it's easier for her to step into the butt-kicking side. And not have the butt-kicking, but just the fact that, just black and white. People like this, they know who they are. They tend to not get overly emotional about things. And they're just, boom, okay? Now, her husband, if you take is quite the opposite. He has a score of soft of 111. Only 29 to the hard side, a difference of 82. We're looking for a difference of 15, okay? So here's a really soft-natured guy. A lot of times these things fall in lines of male, female. Let's say women tend to be more warm and fuzzy than guys. That may be true, but at the end of the day, all it only matters about who you two are. Okay, so here's a guy. Now here's the thing about really warm and fuzzy people. They tend to feel everything, and they hate getting pushed to the brick wall. They don't want to go to the brick wall, because they like being who they are, okay? They want to be that warm and fuzzy. So here's the thing. When she has to move from warm or fuzzy to more direct, it's easier for her to do it. She can move very simply, and it's not a big deal to do it. For him to move back and forth, a lot harder. A lot harder. So here's the problem with really soft people. We all have problems. It's great who they are. It makes us a compassionate person, I'm sure, and warm and fuzzy guy that everybody loves. But the problem is they don't make the move very quickly. And when you take a really soft person and push them to the hard side, they tend to overreact. They tend to overdo stuff. And to the more calm, rational-looking, emotionally speaking person, they don't understand those reactions. Why are they upset? I'm not upset. Well, clearly you're upset. Tell me why. Because they like things just black and white is very clear. A lot of times people who are real soft like that, they don't really know why, because everything's a million shades of gray. And to a person who knows how to step into their hard side, it's just black and white. It's very clear. Here's the answer. I love hard people because they tend to get more to the crux of issues quickly. My son here is more of a hard-natured guy. I love it because, I'm kind of all over the place. I go in with him, Dad.
Boom, boom, boom.
Dad. It's just ABC. I never thought of that, And it's helpful to me, okay? But the hard and soft people don't tend to understand each other very well. But anyway, so here's the thing. Here's a guy, if you ask him, why are you upset? And if he says, there's nothing, I don't know, whatever, he might actually be telling you. All he knows is that he's flustered inside. And you say, well, it's because, what was some of the reasons that she said? The kids did something?
The TV was loud, the kids are fooling around.
Well, but that's the thing. If you know that's what it was, then why are you asking what it is? She writes in her thing. When this happens, he gets flustered and say, why are you upset? I don't want to tell you. Well, why are you asking him? You know why, because you said it's because this, that, and the other. What she wants to know really is probably not so much literally why, but why are you overreacting that? Why are you letting that rattle you? And it is. When soft people get pushed to have to take a more black and white stance, it's very upsetting for them. That's all it is. Just give him space. Let him calm down. Here's the thing that's frustrating, though. You got a stronger black and white woman married to a really warm and fuzzy guy. And that goes so against our stereotypes. Because our culture, Christian culture, even secular culture, approves of very soft women and very black and white guys. And then you have couples who are the opposite. They kind of feel like they're kind of out of sorts sometimes. But it's fine. Just be who you are. You're married to a really warm and fuzzy guy. And that's who you fell in love with. And there's the joy and challenge of doing life with a warm and fuzzy person. All right. We will take a break and be back with your dating questions. I love dating questions right after this.
Attend Mark's Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage event. Visit laughyourway.com for upcoming dates and locations.
I see days and left us bronzed and breathless.
The music of Michael O'Brien, taking us into our dating questions, the idealistic dating questions. You know, we were talking earlier about this email. I mean, a lot of people struggle with, the reason they really struggle in life is because what they have isn't what they think they should have. And this idealism that people pick up in dating, they drag into their marriages. Mm-hmm. And they're constantly, if you're taking your life constantly and comparing it with what you think it should be, you're going to be a really miserable person. And I think people need to relax a bit more. Now, obviously, if you're in hell, that's a little bit different, and you can deal with that. But a lot of people, they just make themselves upset because they literally are experiencing what they think they don't have. It's like the couple who has sex once a week, and they're really happy until they go to a conference and hear, you're supposed to have sex 5 times a week. And then now they're all upset because we're supposed to have sex 5 times a week. And look, if you're both happy having sex once a week, have sex once a week. You know, well, it's not supposed to be that. Says who, okay? You can use the standard, you can use the general, you know, I quote 2 to 3 times a week. They say people who do that have healthier hearts. Okay, fine. But if you don't, just relax. Even in my seminar, I just say, look, all that means for a lot of you guys, y'all going to die an early death. just relax. You don't always have to compare everything to what you think it should be. And no one's more guilty of that than dating people. All right, what do you got?
She says, I'm a 23-year-old woman and started dating a 25-year-old man. Mm-hmm. We both want to do relationships and marriage the right way. Although this young man and I have been dating only a few weeks, we have had some serious conversation, and I can see we have the same values and are looking to do this the right way. I lost my virginity at 17, and I haven't done anything sexually related since. Mm-hmm. I decided to do this right and ask for forgiveness. I am clean of it and don't let it weigh me down anymore. Should I keep this from him and let him assume I'm a virgin, or should I tell him what happened?
How long have they been dating?
She said a few weeks.
Yeah, I don't know. At some point, if it's of interest to him, he'll talk about it. I don't know. 3 weeks into dating, you start discussing the status of your woo. Might be a little weird about who is and who isn't a virgin. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I think that he needs to know if it's important to him. But how do you bring it up? Say, does it matter to you if I'm a virgin? I mean, how do you even have that conversation?
Well, at some point, conversations get a little bit more personal and stuff. I don't know, after a couple of weeks
because
of
maybe
dating,
it matters to him.
There.
Maybe it doesn't matter to him.
Well, I would think if it really matters to him, he'd start out with that question.
This is true.
Hi, you a virgin?
Here's the trouble that people run into in dating. Uh-huh. There's questions and conversations you need to have. And sometimes it's easier to have those questions and conversations before you get emotionally invested. But you're saying, you don't want to ask it too soon because that's too weird. So it's a bit of a catch-22 at times. Are you following me?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. That's the advantage of dating really young and, no one's had time. One person, two, but that's really not that big a deal. Some people, when they tend to become promiscuous, they tend to go nuts. And it's not just 2 or 3, it's dozens of people. At that point, I would think you would want to know that. If you've had sex with dozens and dozens of people, that could be a bit of a problem.
But for some guys, just the fact that she was not a virgin could be problematic. We've gotten emails from those kinds of guys that they really want to marry someone who's a virgin.
Well, I think you just have those conversations then. Let him I don't know. Does she bring it up or does he bring I would think if it's important to him, he would bring it up.
If it's important to her, then she should bring it up too.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out how does one have this conversation.
And how soon do you have those conversations?
That's what I'm saying. She's only been dating for a little while. How do you go to, what's your name again?
Well,
and you've been having sex with another man? I mean, that's a little creepy.
And here's the other problem. Maybe when he doesn't know her very well and in his mind he's being idealistic again, he thinks that this is a big deal. And so it could be a deal breaker early on. But if they get to know each other and he gets to be attached to her and thinks, it probably isn't a deal breaker now.
Here's what I would do with her, because she's the one actually who's really more concerned about it at this point. I would use this as an opportunity to take a stand for who you are. I would say, listen, I know, before we get much further and start getting really close, I allowed myself to get really close to a guy once before and got physically intimate with him. I felt really bad about it. I don't go there anymore. Just so you know, that isn't going to happen here. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for someone who will respect me. We're not going to go down the sex path to try and figure out if we're not, this, that, or the other. I think she could do that.
And it's kind of killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah. What you're saying is, this is who I am. I made a mistake once before that I felt was really bad. Even someone who's been promiscuous, if you're concerned about it and you've asked God to forgive him, you can bring it up and say, listen, I used to be very sexually promiscuous, but I'm not going there anymore. So if that's what you're thinking, and that's a conversation you can have very early on, because if you try to have that conversation 6 months into it, now that's really insulting to the person, especially if they've never tried to do anything.
Yes.
But I think now it's not so much about, I don't know. I just think it's a way for you to identify, this is what's important to me. I've been down this path. I don't want to ever go down this path again. Mm-hmm. I want to find someone I can do life with right. In this case, she's a devout Christian. I want to honor God and do this right. So just heads up, I don't do this. Mm-hmm. Okay? I think a conversation like that could happen very early on. Mm-hmm. And then you have to make a big deal about it. What you're not doing now is celebrating your failure. No, I did this in my life. What you're saying is you're celebrating your success. Here's where I've been, and I wouldn't dwell on that. I would just say, I've made some mistakes. If you want to say, listen, I did it once or whatever you feel like you need to say, but what you're celebrating is who you are today. I don't do this anymore. I'm looking for someone who wants, are you that kind of person? Or you're just someone who wants to get into my pants? Because if you want, I'll tell you, I've been there. I'm not going to do it again. At that point, if he's rattled because you've been there once before and wants to split, then let him split now before you get emotionally invested, which I think. So I think that's the way you could do it. Yeah. And do it in a way to celebrate who you are now rather than get dragged into who you were before. All right, we'll take our final break and be back with the final segment right after this.
Want more of Mark? Visit markgungor.com. There you will find everything that Mark has to offer.
I don't ever want to leave, it just feels right.
We're back on the Mark Gungor Show, wrapping up our show today. I think the thing that struck me the strongest on today's show is this idea of trying to compare where you are with where you think you should be. Mm-hmm.
And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, well,
that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah,
how do you deal with that? Because it's a problem people have.
I generally tend to just ignore it. I don't know. First of all, I don't walk around with this idea of how things should be. Now,
okay, but that's not helpful to all of the people that we are saying do that. Well, so what do you do?
I don't know. It's like asking someone who's...
Don't tell somebody that there's
who's a woman asking a man, what is it like to be a woman? I don't know. You're all crazy. I have no idea. But I think you need to relax a little bit.
You should focus on the things you're supposed to do instead of where you should be. So I think people, they focus, because results may vary.
Results may vary.
You know what I'm saying? Everyone's life's different.
Listen, even as, because she's talking about the sex thing, because she thinks about laundry. There's a lot worse than that. There's times people that have a man or a woman, you're having sex with someone, all of a sudden you imagine having sex with somebody else. Okay? Mm-hmm. Well, oh my God. First of all, I wouldn't share that.
No,
with who you are,
you're dumb if you do.
And I wouldn't get all depressed and kill yourself, or just control my head and make sure I'm thinking in the right place. And at some point, you have to have a disciplined thought life. She was all upset because she thinks about laundry. A lot worse things you can be thinking about. What's his name?
Clay Matthews?
Clay Matthews. You're thinking about Clay Matthews when your husband's making sex to you. I mean, that's really a lot worse than the laundry. It's just... Don't freak out about it. Just discipline your mind. Be intentional. We're going to make love. I'm going to be thinking about him. I'm not. Do you see what I'm saying? You just got to be more intentional. I'm just shocked at how many people, their minds, their thoughts, their feelings do something, and they're so overwhelmed by that. It's just always been easy for me. It's not helping anybody. I'm just saying I don't take my thoughts and my feelings and stuff all that terribly seriously. I just be more intentional next time around and whatever I'm doing in life, rather than saying this is who I am. And I certainly don't compare my marriage with what everybody thinks it should be. Do you know how many people have come into my office? We're having marriage problems. Okay, tell them what they are. And I listen to them and I go, you just described my marriage. The difference is they're freaked out about it. We are not. My husband doesn't really listen to me. Okay? My husband doesn't take out the trash. I have to constantly remind him. All right, it's something we deal with all the time. We're not freaked out about it. You just roll with it. But these people, they think something's terribly wrong because of normal, and it just crushes them. And sometimes, and I'm telling you, a lot of marriage help that we tend to give, I give it. Well, what I try to avoid is give people the idea of this idea of perfection. But a lot of times you listen to Christian radio shows, some marriage shows and stuff like that, they go to great lengths to describe what a marriage should be. This perfect, ideal thing. And then people take that and compare it to their marriages and think,
well, especially in Christian marriage circles, they're extraordinarily guilty of that.
oh, yeah. And they make things worse. You know,
Yes.
like, are you having spiritual intimacy?
Yes.
Wow. If it's a physical and emotional was so easy, now we got to worry about spiritual intimacy. Anyway. All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.